Gamers, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about a first part episode of my review on this game because I'm actually waiting for the PC version of it. The PC version of the game is going to be the real version I'm looking forward to before I finish the work, but I've spent 200 hours plus on this game. I played the melee classes and the spellcasting classes. The game we're going to be talking about is Dark Souls 2. Now, if you haven't played any of the series before, Demon Souls or Dark Souls 1, don't worry about it because you can jump right into the 2. It's more of the same thing, but it is upgraded and improved in many ways, making it really, really nice and all the other ones obsolete. But, some things are still unbalanced, especially for the PvP, but that's okay. The story of the game isn't always the strongest point in this game series because, as usual, you'll start off lost and confused as a soul, but this time around it smoothly flows in a good direction because you can choose where to go and it isn't the wrong way as long as you can do it. The game story does have lore behind the NPCs, and there's a lot of them this time around, so if you want to listen to lore, just listen to NPCs and you'll get a lot about that. They might even have secrets that you can find out about them. The beginning of the game actually is very nice this time around. There's a tutorial level where you can actually, get things on the run, learn the controls, get it down, and learn how to actually play the game. It's a very nice tutorial level. It's very nicely done so that you can actually learn for those of you who never played this series before. The graphics of the game is a little different than what demo showed. I have on me the PS3 version of the game. I've actually played the Xbox 360 version of the game. It looks almost the same to me. The lighting is much better in my opinion, but the graphics will probably be saved for the PC version, which I'm looking forward to, and I'll cover on the part 2 of my review to see how it looks and the loading. But other than that, the PS3 version has a longer loading time than the Xbox version. The Xbox version actually has a better loading time for a lot of the network play, and probably the network works a lot better on the Xbox 360 than the PS3 version from what I played on my friend's Xbox. Nevertheless, the game is solid and enjoyable on both consoles. Like I said before, I don't know how the PC game will play. We'll see with the controls, and we'll cover that in part 2. But overall, the gameplay itself is still the same hardcore games you've played before. There are over 1 billion deaths in this game via PvP, falling death, you name it, there's a counter that keeps track of it. From what I've seen so far, it's about 2 deaths a second. I remember in the beginning, day 1, the game had over 30 deaths a second. It was crazy insane, but it's slowed down a bit, so people are still dying in many ways, and there's still tons of people playing this game, so it's a great game to still play. Nevertheless, the gameplay is quite simple in this type of game. It's a hack and slash game. There's also range weapons, and there's also magic, but the player controls the camera and the lock-ons, and the bosses hit like truck, you name it. Your stats go up a bit at a time by spending souls. That is the basic gameplay. What makes this game hard is that the game has a ton of traps all over the place, and the camera actually, you control the camera, makes it difficult because you have to make sure you watch corners and areas because things can jump out at you and just kill you in certain places, or you might fall down to your death because you try to rush like I do, since I'm a very impatient person. So you got to be really patient in this type of game if you want to progress. The game this time features some really nice returning weapons and items, with whips actually being really useful this time in this version. There's different type of whips, different type of armors. You can wear new types of armors. There's also spells in this game in many categories. There's 4 categories. You got sorcery, you got pyromancy, you got faith, and you got hexes. Black magic, which is really cool, uses the power of actually faith and intelligence to be used. The spell is really strong this time. You can be a melee or a spellcaster in this game, or you can be a range combat player if you want to do that, but you're going to need a lot of arrows for those. But overall, whatever you pick, it's really strong in all cases. Being a spellcaster, I played a spellcaster, I really enjoyed it a lot. Spells are powerful. Other thing is that there are a ton of bosses in this game. There's so many bosses this time around, it's great, but there wasn't really any bosses I quite remembered in the game because they're not really memorable. Some of them were way too easy, some of them are just meh. But there were some returning bosses I've noticed, but the game this time didn't really have anything that just popped in my face and go, whoa, except for maybe one boss, which is a dread. Well, I don't want to ruin it for you guys, so you guys are going to have to figure out what that is. Also, to ease the gameplay on players that are stuck in certain places, if you kill a mob over 15 times, the mob disappears after the 15th time, and the only way you can spawn it back is to use bonfire aesthetic. The bonfire aesthetic, what it does is not only respawn your all the mobs and all the loot, but it also respawns the bosses and make the area a higher level NG. For example, you burn one, it becomes NG3, everything respawns, NG4, so on and so on. I've managed to take places up to NG22 just for fun. You'll see in my other video what I did with it and how creative it can be used, or what it can be used for, especially for the Rat Covenant. This time around, there are a ton of new covenants, which is really great. There's PvE covenants, and then there's PvE PvP covenants, where you drag players into your games and you can hunt them down as a PvE element. And then there's also pure PvP covenants. But the only downside to the covenants is that they require a crap load of kills to actually get the cool weapons and armors out of them. One covenant I heard you need like 300 PvP kills to do anything, so it's going to keep it going for a very long time. So that's the thing about the covenants, is you gotta really dedicate to them to really get the good stuff out of it. And then there's the PvE covenants. There are PvE where you do certain abyss dungeons and earn cool loot out of it. And then there's the pure PvE covenants, where you can't get summoned, or you can't summon other players to help, but you earn more souls and the game is harder, so you can play that way if you like. Anyways, regardless, all the covenants are really cool, really unique to each area, so you can check that out in some of the videos. You'll see me doing some PvP. I'll show you some gameplay after this review. And then there are also tons of secrets in this game. The Covenant rewards, the illusionary walls. There's also the way illusionary walls work in this game. You don't hit them anymore. You actually press use on them. Some people point them out to you through the messages on the floor, so if you know how that works, read the messages, you'll find out, because it's pretty easy to see the wall and actually press use on it, or you can just press use on every wall. There's also tons of secret Pharaoh Stone areas. Pharaoh Stones are the new way to actually activate certain things that will help benefit you in certain maps in the game. Either they unleash traps, or maybe open secret areas, or do things for you. It's all depend on you if you have the Pharaoh Stones or not. And then there's also different items affecting different things in the games. I don't want to spoil. There's still stuff being found after you beat the game. There's NG Plus. NG Plus this time around is completely different than what you think. It's not just the enemies are harder, but there also is new enemies that spawn. There are Red Invader enemies where they come out of nowhere and they'll kill you, and each new game plus it gets harder and harder and harder as you go along, so it gets different. Which makes it really unique to the game, especially when new enemies spawn, because it makes the level ridiculous. I mean, it goes from hard to harder and hardest. So, enjoy the game, enjoy some of the videos I put up about it, and remember to game on, and hopefully we'll take a look at the PC version and see what's new, how the controls are, and how the graphics are, and see if it is the best version to get. Hopefully by April we'll see what's going to happen.
Like a moth drawn to a flame, your wings will burn in